Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you on this marvelous Monday, wouldn't you say? I hope it is for you. It is also 9/11, isn't it? I didn't actually connect with that until this very moment in time. Like, I didn't really synergize that, but what I did, however, connect to was this beautiful dragonfly that greeted me on my window just moments before I was ready to sit down and have this conversation between you, me, and spirit. So let's see what comes up from all of those energies. I'm gonna cut the deck a few times. It's been shuffled wildly, so it's definitely taken care of in that regard, but I feel guided to cut it on camera. And when I saw the dragonfly, I honestly was like, yes, Spirit, thank you for that sign, for that message. And I was like, please just let that permeate the message today, because I know that the messages have been kind of heavy the last couple and, not the most pleasant and high vibrational in essence. And the dragonfly, of course, symbolizes all good things: rebirth, luck, happiness, transformation, new beginnings, just everything positive that you can really aspire to for yourself by the way of change is the indication of seeing a dragonfly. So I'm very grateful for the sign, and I'm very grateful to be able to share it with you all. And if you're interested, definitely check it out and see what resonates for you at this time. A sign for me is a sign for you. So I was very much so connected to that vibration, and happy to see it, loving to see it. And me just being reminded that today is 9/11 as a completely different spin. So hopefully, we can stay in that vibe where there's just some synergy between the two, at this point. I know sometimes 9/11 can bring kind of a somber energy to the day, just in remembrance of where you were at that time. And me personally, it was right before I was on my way to college. I went to Drexel University, so we go back to school late. Everybody else, most schools go back the end of August, but at Drexel, it's a year-round school with co-ops and stuff like that. So we actually I didn't start school until all of my friends had already been long gone, ahead of me. I was actually still working my summer job before I left, and that's where I was at the time when the towers fell. And coincidentally, this is a card about work as I'm just jib-jabbing along, right? So I think everybody that is of age, to remember that day more or less can remember where they were and what they were doing. And that's where I was. I was actually in a very transformational stage in my life where, I was transitioning from adolescence, more or less, I guess, I guess that's still adolescence when you're just turned 18. I wasn't out my parents' house yet, and I was moving from being a child pretty much to independence. So maybe even that is a correlation here, because that was a transformative time. And when I went off to college, I went into not just a new state, but just a whole new world and a new era. I met people that would ultimately impact my life for the rest of my life in ways that I didn't even know was possible, even to this day. And it hasn't all been great, but at the time of my experiences, it's definitely something. Yeah, it's been a little bit of this, a little bit of that, little good, little bad. Well, then it was amazing. I had an amazing time in school, but some of the energies that carried on with me beyond that time haven't necessarily panned out to be, lasting for the rest of my life as I once thought. Yeah, a lot of exposures have come to life about who different people were that I thought would be in my life forever. But ultimately, I still have, great gratitude for my experiences. Yeah, even at that time, especially at that time, because then I didn't know no damn better. I didn't know to protect my energy. I didn't know I needed to. I was just as green and wet behind the ears as anything, you know, back then, just looking to have a good time and be on the adventure of young adulthood, you know. And I gotta say, for me, it was a wonderful adventure. So all that to say, you know, that was a pivotal moment in my transitional life, in my transitional experience of life, in my maturation. Maybe perhaps it's something that you get to reflect on today, especially if you're of age, to kind of remember, recall, reflect on that time, basically considering how you've grown, you know, how you have transformed from then to now. What things have you learned about yourself? How have you evolved since that time? You know, a moment in time where all of us that can remember it have some emotional attachment to it. Even if you were way across the world, you know, it was one of those experiences that just kind of shook the world in a sense. So maybe there's a reason for it to be coming up in the way that it did. And even for me, as it came up just now, like almost matter of fact, like, oh yeah, it's 9/11. Because I know for those that are more aggressively impacted by it, they never forget. But perhaps maybe there's a calling for us to remember some moments in our lives that may have been regressed in a sense, that have been forgettable in a way, or maybe we just haven't reverenced in the way that they truly deserve to be, you know, as a pivotal moment to bring us exactly to this present point in time. So again, for me, it was college, literally going from high school to college, which is one of the biggest moves you can make as a young adult. And everything that everyone and everything and every place that I encountered in college made a major impact on my life, even up until this time. So consider what impacts you have incurred and encountered and maybe even overcome today. And by all means, definitely allow it to be a day of celebration, of transformation, of life, of change, and all the fantastic ways it has occurred over these many years now. And really congratulating yourself for the involvement that you have surrendered to, you know, when you could have very well stayed stuck and stagnant since that time has passed. But there has to be some change that you can celebrate at this point, that you can be proud of amidst all the other things. So instead of celebrating the downside, the death, the loss, the depression, the misfortune, the despair, I think the trash truck is coming. Take an opportunity to celebrate the adverse of that. What has actually been constructive in your life, what has transitioned you to the space of independence, you know, that has ushered you into some new era of understanding about yourself by way of experience, and ultimately gains you some new sense of wisdom. That's certainly something to be celebrated. Yeah. All right. So we got... All right. So we got the 8 of Pentacles. We got the 2 of Pentacles. Trash truck is moving, so pardon the disturbance. We got the Sun. We got the 7 of Wands, the Justice card, the 3 of Wands, and the 7 of Cups. Okay. I feel like I should almost take another row before I get into it, but let's see what we got so far. All right. So we got work and dedication. That's at the top. And it came out at exactly the moment that I was speaking about work. And work in that sense, at that time, for me, to bridge the correlation, it was a job that I wasn't really interested in. It was just a summer job, again, like the transition between high school and college. My auntie was an executive there, and she got me a job. And you know how it is when you're a young kid. They just give you all types of menial work, busy work, filing work, law, data entry, and things of that sort. It was like a credit bureau is what I worked at that time. So I did the job as, as much as it was required, but it wasn't in comparison, at least not at that time. Now, I'll say fast forward to now, it has much value in my life, but at the time, it wasn't an Eight of Pentacles position that I was doing that was spiritually fulfilling, and it wasn't a whole hell of a lot of money, but it was plenty of money for me at that age. So there wasn't this essence of it being materially and spiritually fulfilling to any sensational satisfaction. It was just more or less busy work, something to do, little money to make. But this Eight of Pentacles is exactly that. Someone that can work on, almost do something for free because they enjoy it so much. They keep their head down, they stay busy, devoted to what they're working on, and, faithful that there's some result that's going to come of it. Now, what I see here, though, is the Two of Pentacles and the Sun card with the Seven of Wands. So, unfortunately, I just don't feel, as much as I would love for it to be the vibration of which I started with, I just don't feel that synergy here. I feel like somebody's hard work and dedication in some way that is not favorable, that was not ultimately satisfying and productive, in a positive sense, is being exposed here. And there's now dwindling down to Two of Pentacles, struggling and juggling the resources they have left on account of exposure of this work, and ultimately also having to defend themselves energetically from these actions that were taken. That's what I say. The Justice card is here. They were waiting on some big return, again, for this invested work and energy, but instead it's been lost in the shuffle, lost in some haze, so there's some cause and effect happening here. This is the Justice, to have a loss of income or loss of material gain or measurement by the Justice card, simply because the means weren't justified for a prosperous end, if that makes sense. Like, there was an intention for a prosperous end, as in with the Three of Wands. You're waiting for your ships to come in. You invested some great work. You believe that you can expect a return. You feel almost entitled to it, in a sense, based on the energy and the plan that you already set out. But the return seems to me to be this Seven of Cups. So, and this is confusion, illusion, options that mostly are not viable, so this is the return where you got something back from it, but it's not, it's a very tricky situation, because if you drink of one of these cups unwisely, you actually might be drinking poison. And for someone, there's a lot on the line here for someone that's already juggling Two Pentacles and is in some way, shape, or form energetically unstable, and also insecure, literally not feeling safe and secure in the position that they're in. That's what I'm getting from this. It means standing your ground with the Seven of Wands, but in this case, it's like, what are you having to stand your ground on? You're having to protect yourself from something because of what energy you've already expelled, based on this vibration, is what I'm feeling. All right, so let's get a couple more. I'm gonna probably have to messy up this board, because that was kind of fast for 7 cards. I probably did more talking about 9/11 than than those cards. So Spirit, bring it back as to how this all matters and correlates today. Energy that's been invested. This Eight of Pentacles is leading the way. What is it that you want us to know in this message today? King of Swords. Someone that would be upright. That would be Libra energy or Sagittarius or Aquarius or Gemini. Mostly Libra though. Oh no, I'm sorry. Fixed sign, right? Yeah, mostly Aquarius. Someone that should know better in the way of justice, put it that way. They know right from wrong. They know cause and effect, reaping and sowing. They know the laws. Yeah, they know the laws of, they know spiritual and the laws of the land. But that didn't stop them from doing something that, you know, took on a form of self-sabotage or produced the outcome of sabotage, whether it be, whether it was them calling in this sabotage onto others, you know, that was the projected energy, and or this being the return, which is honestly what I see, but it's in alignment with the work too, you know, and what's being exposed. So this, some diabolical plans that have gone awry, but ultimately have been stopped, is what this energy is here, this Ten of Swords. Because it's the ending of a cycle. Again, of some deception. Whatever it is, it hasn't ended well. Even though it's ended, it hasn't ended well. There's much, there's a great impact unfavorably that has occurred on account of either some external force unto another, or again, as I like to say lately, I've been seeing it as like self-sabotage, you know, because really only truly you can do that to yourself. Yeah, sometimes, and most times, you know, you have energies that are set up to oppose you or obstruct your progress in some way, but 9 times out of 10, they only really get as far as you agree with them to go, you know, or you allow them to go. So if there were some works that this individual got involved in and found himself with the short end of the stick, literally, and being exposed on account of it, and not quite balanced, and it not quite measuring up to what he had expected would be the return, or maybe even what he was promised would be the return with the justice card here. Some fairness of exchange is not what turned out to be. But again, as the King of Swords, you are in a position of wisdom to know better. So if there is an injustice occurred, one would, in that position, would have to take accountability and responsibility for however he ultimately set himself up to be sabotaged or deceived or dishonored in some way, is what I hear. All right. All right, let's get one more to finish out this formation, and then I'll see how else I feel led to pull, because I got plenty of incense left. What more you got to say, Spirit? I know you got something to say. I really wanted one more, but let's see what we got here. All right, I'm gonna let this be a side note, because we got the Eight of Wands. We got the Eight of Wands, the Three of Cups, and the Ten of Wands. So this is like fast action, communication, some energy that's moving in quickly by way of, okay, once again, masculine and feminine energy. So these are wow, and I just said that too. I said I said here that it's energy that he sent out that's coming back, and that's what this is giving me. It's like these Eight of Wands that were sent out to some ladies, you know, maybe perhaps even more than the three, but whether he was in, because Three of Cups is like personal relationships or connections. You know, it's like there's some interpersonal connection between him and these particular energies, whether they be females, men, women, it really doesn't matter, honestly, but that's how they are presented in the card. That's the vibration of the card. Three women. It can also even be a like a bridal shower or some celebratory event. Yeah, something. It can be a couple of things, but what it's looking like to me is that this is the energy that he expelled, you know, in this Eight of Wands, that he didn't expect to come back to him in the magnitude and by the force in which it did. So perhaps it wasn't necessarily directed at them intentionally as these women, or maybe it was, I don't know, but how it's returning is in some unexpected way, and some accelerated or expansive way from what was even given out. So it's giving me like the karma that's coming back for whatever energy was committed to here is coming back. I would say, I mean, it's only 8 to the 10, but at least double, because the disparity here is 2. So the so the Two of Wands, remember I said there's some energy that was expelled. That's the Two of Wands, where there's a plan, there's some strategy or some intention that's put forth to acquire something or do something, a strong decision more or less that gets to be made to take some action in a specific direction over another. Can be almost like a crossroads point of activation, not holistically so, but sometimes that's how I see it, where you have two wands and it's like he can take the higher road or he can reach to the past, and you know, it just depends on the energies that are connected in those cards as to which one he actually did. But ultimately what is reading from the first point of inception here is that the actions were not favorable, because the justice here is called upon when there needs to be a justification or balancing for something that's unjustified. Pardon me. So that plan that he was intending to get a great return on, this is the return coming back with a vengeance, perhaps from the feminines that have been disadvantaged, or I hear disempowered with this wand energy. That's about power and creativity, force, you know, intention, passion, even more primitively, but not primitively at all, obviously. But perhaps he used some level of passion as a manipulative force against the emotional balance of feminine energy, because 3 is not really a balanced number. You know, when you consider it, 3 is a crowd, right? As we say. So he just did too much with his wand, his creative force, his power, his ambition, you know, overtook him in some way, shape, or form. And as the King of Swords, as to which, you know, I'm definitely calling him out to be, he knows better, you know, but he also sometimes knows too much. You know, the King of Swords can be very cunning, emotionally detached in a sense, and strategic in ways in a lower vibration that are that can be, you know, shady to put it lightly. So that's the reason for the return of this 10 of Swords. It's like for every sword that he, you know, shifted, every sword that he swung, I don't know, stabbed, is come back tenfold. You know, he's only holding one, but this is a tenfold situation. So maybe multiple. When we think about swords, is communication. So maybe with this exposure, there's hell of information out there about him that would have otherwise been held, secretive, or gossip about his situation in some way that's now exposed, or his lifestyle, or whatever the situation is that he's connected himself to or aligned himself with. Perhaps how he's gotten his money, how he's been working, what he's been doing to gain money and resources, maybe even how he lost it all, or had some fall from grace, or how he's in some type of trouble energetically so, or maybe even legally so. Actually, now that I'm seeing this here, like this is maybe having to protect yourself legally from some enforcement in some way, shape, or form. How the people that he aligned himself with have all turned on him with the Seven of Wands. That's people close to you now almost becoming your enemies, or you feeling like you have to protect yourself in one way. And then we progress to the 8. Somebody in the middle is celebrating his demise, and maybe even inciting the demise, as he's carrying the 10 of Wands on his back. Now the 10 from the 7 here is the 3. It's like the ships that you were waiting on to come in are actually demise on account of maybe perhaps some people turning on him that he once was in alignment with. That's what I'm getting here. That's the betrayal, that those that he was actually in some collusion or conspiring or collaboration, or perhaps just ones that he was in connection with. I almost said commitment, but by God, can you really be committed to 3 people, intimately so, with the cup energy, emotionally so? It doesn't even match in suits. He doesn't have any cups here except for the 7 of Cups here, which is confusion, illusion, and also having too many choices. So it all matches. It all matters right now. That he was acting like, an F-boy, ultimately, in some way, shape, or form. Having too many choices, drinking too many cups, pouring his energy, dipping his wand into too many of those energies. And at least, remember I said, some of them aren't good. Actually almost most of them don't look good at all. It's a snake in one, a head in another, a sandcastle in another, a dragon in one, something that looks like mushrooms, could be drug use or over drinking, also with the 7 of Cups. So just being incapacitated or not of a sober mind and spirit to make positive decisions. And so that also created the haze and the fog as to, that lack of discernment to be able to protect yourself from any impending danger, externally imposed or self-imposed. But this here is the downfall here, drinking too much of the Kool-Aid that is tainted. And at least 3 of those cups have definitely turned out to be very bitter. And now it's left him with a great burden on his back to carry, because, the justice is here that's overturning anything that's been imbalanced first and foremost. But it seems to me that these energies, these 3 of Cups energies, are kind of embodying karma in some way, shape, or form, and maybe accelerating, as I said, the justice that is being incurred on account of what was, the justice that he's incurring on account of what they've incurred unjustifiably, or at least how they feel that they've been mismanaged or mishandled. Like primitively so, consider a man just having too many women, or finessing too many situations at once, too many deals, too many hands in the, like it doesn't even have to be sexual, but because I don't necessarily know that it is, although we got wands and cups, which are, pretty explanatory there. You got a phallic, and you got the cup, which is like feminine energy, but also considering that he's the King of Swords, the reason why I say it doesn't have to all be actual physical finessing is because the King of Swords is known to be a mental and a psychological finesser. So even if he wasn't, dicking them down, physically, he was doing so energetic, maybe that's what I hear, mind effing individuals out, like finessing, perhaps if not feminine energy, just energies that would be vulnerable to his masculine prowess is what I hear. So it could be masculine energies that he could finesse too, but that would be open to that finesse, that have, some reason to almost be, I don't know how to explain it, because it's not necessarily that it was, let me just stop trying to over-explain, because maybe it was. He is beating down some wands here, so maybe it was a little bit of that going on too. I don't know. I can't call it. Perhaps, maybe that's the point as well, that he was doing way too much. And here with the two of Pentacles, trying to balance both ends of the spectrum, both scales, masculine and feminine. But again, it was by way of finessing the mind psychologically. So even if he wasn't laying the pipe, is what I should have said instead of the other term. If he wasn't laying the pipe, he was damn sure swinging that sword at people psychologically and finessing them into things, maybe into this work, that he was committed to. And once the things fell apart, it's like now that spell kind of dissipated. It's not, you can't glamour anybody anymore because the money ain't flowing. So people want answers, or they want their money back, or they want their time, they want their energy, they want some retribution for whatever injustice they feel they've incurred. And on that account, now it becomes a hostile situation that you have to protect yourself from. Maybe even he's trying to get away from, but it's hard for him to move away because he's got all these burdens on his back that he has to face. So as much as he it literally feels like he's trying to run away here, like he's trying to leave the scene. And it's like, where you think you going? Where's my money? Where's it? Where's this? Where's that? You promised me this. You promised me that. And he's got so much responsibility on his back right now that he couldn't get away fast enough if he tried. That's wild. What is this work? Hold on. Let me get one more at the bottom, and then I'm gonna ask a couple questions since we got time today. All right, now it's another. Now we got the Judgment. Dang, I just want one more card. Maybe I'll get it at the end. Woof, yowzers! Do you see what I see? Good God. We got the Judgment, the Death card, the two people falling out the tower, and then the Eight of Pentacles. This is what I said, like he's trying. He would love to get away from this disaster going on here, but I don't know. The Eight of Swords is after the Two of Swords. I keep saying the Two of Swords. The Eight of Swords is after. I don't know. Something's telling me I'm not going to do it, though. I'm not going to do it. Something's telling me to put him down here, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it justifiably. But sometimes I get incitement to do things like that, whether it makes sense or not. Judgment, Death, and Tower. And it's like him walking away from the Tower and from Death and from Judgment. But I don't see how anybody can escape all those energies. That don't make no sense to me. What's on the bottom? Yeah, the Knight of Wands, it's like he's still protecting himself, or he's about to meet another fate. Maybe perhaps he feels like he's escaped this crash and burn situation, or the worst of it. Or perhaps just when he thinks he has escaped is when he's going to ultimately meet his demise with this Knight of Wands. Because the Knight of Wands is like, you don't really want to meet a Knight of Wands on the wrong terms. You know, he's impulsive, he's compulsive, he's not really going to think too hard on his actions on account of how his passions guide and lead him to be aggressive and protective. So if a Knight of Wands is your adversary on the battlefield, you might be in trouble. And you know what it's also giving me? It's like the Knight of Wands also is that character of all the wands known to be the playboy, you know, to definitely have a few notches or so under his belt as it pertains to like intimacy, lust, and sexuality. So it could either be that he just when he's almost felt like he's been redeemed, he's either going to have to then face the totality of himself and who he's been to create this disaster, or he's actually, like I said, going to be facing those energies that want answers. You know, the ones that, you know, they're angry. As a matter of fact, with the Knight of Wands, it's like I just heard crime of passion. I hope not. And we got the Death card here. Ooh, I don't like the sounds of that. King of Swords, you in danger, girl. That's not funny, but it is funny. I don't know. I don't know if it's that deep or what. I guess we shall see. But I know for one thing, Judgment, Death card, and the Tower is no bueno. I don't care how you splice it, swing it, finesse it. There's really no way to say anything positive about that energy. That means that the spirit has called judgment on these egregious acts, whatever they are. That means that there's been a screeching halt and an end by way of the spirit. You know, this is like, and we already got the Justice card out here, so we can consider that the justice is for this to end. And then the Tower, where it's like a sudden blow up, change, disruption to a foundation, a system, a circumstance. It's like something you can't really control that just throws you completely off balance. The only thing that that puzzles me is how he's walking away, you know, after all of that. You know, that's the part that doesn't make sense to me, which is why I feel like it's almost the trick of the enemy, you know, the adverse energy, to almost make him feel like he's escaped. Maybe he's left some destruction in his wake, you know, or it left it behind him, and it seems as though he might actually be released from whatever the retribution might be, but I just can't call it, not with all this destruction, and not especially not if you have had anything to do with it. This is by the work of your hands. To me, it's like you're going to meet something along the way. But let's see. Give me either a card here. No, let's see. I want to clarify this Judgment and this spray here, the Eight of Wands. I mean, Eight of Cups. What's going on there? There's too many. Okay, let's see. Notice what we got here, though. I'm gonna get into that in a minute. So we got the Queen of Cups. Yeah. And the Magician. Yeah, he's thinking that he manifested his way connected here. What is this? He's still got his eye, or has an eye, on a Queen of Cups, hoping to manifest what? Exactly. Still hoping to manifest an escape, because here is what I have here. the Five of Cups, and the Nine of Wands. So this is like energetic. Yeah, he's delusional. That's what it comes down to. Okay, got it. Okay, because he's depressed and in despair about his current situation, but still looking back on it as if it's everybody else's fault. Like, is that why he's got the sword up to the Queen of Cups? Meaning perhaps maybe one of these ladies or all of these ladies are just feeling some disdain toward the feminine energies that may be in correlation to this story, whatever it may be. But what is he manifesting though? I just feel like there's some mental imbalance here, is what I feel. That somehow he still feels like he's either going to manifest a way. Maybe this tower and stuff hasn't happened yet, and that maybe that's why it's here, because it's not what's actually seen coming. So, and he's looking at because he's looking at the wrong things. Now I get it. He's looking at the wrong things. Remember, this is also the guy who's in his own illusions and delusions. So this makes perfect sense. He's still over here thinking that he's going to be able to finesse away. I hope you can see the cards over here. But with this Queen of Cups, the Page of Swords, and the Magician, he still feels like he has the power to manifest a way out of this bind in one way, shape, or form, whether it be to finesse a Queen of Cups who may be some prominent figure of the Three of Cups, somebody that's maybe really leading the charge, to chop his head off. So he's feeling defensive, but he's also feeling like he has the tools to manifest a way out, to not even manifest, let me say manipulate, because that's exactly what this energy is set out to do. This is about manipulation, not manifestation. So he thinks that he still has a chance with the right intel and the right strategy to manipulate his way out of this bind here with these feminine energies, or with a feminine energy, for ultimately his own survival. But under the deck here is exactly why he feels that he's still, that's why I was like confused, like, how do you think you're going to move your way out of all of this danger that you caused ultimately with just a flick of your wand? That's what you think? Literally still thinking that his wand is going to solve his issues. That the wand, sir, is what got you in trouble in the first place. That's why you're protecting yourself now. And that's what has brought all this despair and disappointment and depression ultimately to you emotionally. That, what, like I always say with the Nine of Wands, instead of him taking responsibility for this ridiculousness, he's blaming he's blaming his troubles and misfortunes on everybody else, almost feeling entitled to be able to manifest some way, some defense or even offense against his so-called enemies, because he feels like it's everybody else's fault. He still thinks he's the king of swords. That's what he thinks, and that he's entitled to justice. Again, I say, delusional, and illusional, completely mentally imbalanced is this character. Not upright, not integral at all. And that's why he's acting out in this way, perhaps even still working on some plan or plot that has already proven itself to be unproductive, has already proven poor results, has already gotten him into trouble, has already not made good on whatever he thought he was going to be expecting, has already landed him into some type of legal trouble in some way, shape, or form, has already stripped him of his own discernment and clear vision, has tarnished his reputation, although he probably feels like whomever these energies are the ones that have tarnished his reputation. But in fact, as I said, he self-sabotaged himself by the choices that he made, and he's still looking back wondering how this all has happened, how this came to be. Sir, stop it. Get some help. Seriously. Like, what in the hell? Where are you going, sir? In the Eight of Cups. Where do you think you're going? You're going to have to answer for something on this board. It's not everybody else's fault but yours. Spirit, give me one right here. Can I just get one? I just want to finish this because it's getting on my nerves that I got this open. But if it's not, then I'll finish it at the end. We will get one. We will. And we got this here. The child with the High Priestess on the bottom. This is the Eight of Pentacles. He's got a vendetta against women. Honestly, I'm gonna say how I feel it because that's what I heard before I saw the High Priestess and I saw the Eight of Pentacles. I heard he wants to be a woman. Now, I don't know if he wants to be a specific woman, meaning there's some, because this doesn't make any sense right here. We've had all this masculine energy aside from these feminines here, right? But here she is finishing up this spread. It was like this space was left open just for her. And in correlation with the High Priestess, there's something that he is envious of concerning the power of women and their independence. Like, that's why he preys upon them, finessing them, which most womanizers do. So this ain't even nothing like woo out of the box. But when you come against most womanizers or misogynists, because that's also what this is giving me, narcissist at worst, maybe even at best at this point with the energy that's coming up here, who knows what he's been capable of or what he's been actually committed to. But it's giving me that he's been wanting to cause some endings in women's lives because there's some jealousy here. That's what I hear. Like, when I say like he wants to be a woman, he could. I remember I said it seems like some funny situations going on here with him balancing. Perhaps he's struggling with his own internal energy as to his own sexuality, especially next to the sun. You know, that's Leo energy, which is all about sensation, sexuality, the expression of such, and maybe that's the energy that he's defending, you know, not being exposed, that truth of him, perhaps, I don't know, but I'm just saying there's that there too. So there could be that, right, in the most practical sense, but I feel like it's deeper than that with the High Priestess. It's something more diabolical about him against female energy. It's because, you know, it's like he recognizes the sanctity of feminine energy. Literally, even with the Queen of Cups, I always call her the Holy Grail. He and look how he's looking at her. Oh my God, I hope you can see these cards over here. And the Magician, okay, Spirit, I got it. Thank you. This is him ultimately, it's like a love-hate obsession with women. Probably stemming from childhood, as most things do and most things are, right? Even though I don't see any pages on the board, but this Two of Pentacles definitely gives me child. Oh, well, the Page of Swords, of course, is a child energy as well. And perhaps the Queen of Cups is a motherly vibration for him, that there's this trigger within him from childhood on account of maybe some mother figure or just expressions of motherly love or experiences of motherly love from childhood that have, and the King of Wands here, look, wow, this is someone on attack mode against divine feminines, that he is jealous of their energy because as a man he doesn't naturally possess it, even though we possess both energies as well as we can tap into them, but it's not a natural possession. And so therefore he looks to possess those energies in real time by the finesse of his wand, to ultimately maintain some to corrupt that spiritual energy, in which he can then also siphon. Because as I've been saying over and over again, when you can corrupt the cup of the feminine energy here, right here with these Three of Cups, you can ultimately do whatever you want, have your way with it, you know, until she says enough is enough, of course. But for as long as she's vulnerable, thinking it's just a good time and, you know, living life like it's golden, or thinking that you're someone that's a viable partnership or something productive to manifest with, as obviously he presented himself to be as the King of Swords, that it was balanced, it was justified. He presented himself as justice and balance when ultimately he's really been struggling. So this is somebody that could be finessing women for finances, but I ultimately feel like, again, is deeper than that. Like he wants to conquer the feminine energy and almost dominate that force, so that not only does he possess it, he controls it, and he's the decider. Like he I hear punishes it too, you know, like this is dark. This is dark. This is dark. So I don't know, sir, I don't know where you think you're going, getting away with all of this bullshit. Like, you're gonna have to face the music in one way, shape, or form. And that, it's like, I don't know, maybe it's weird, you know. I don't know why I guess because he's been finessing for so long. This has been his thing, probably even since he was a kid, of how he even got over on his mother or learned to beat the system, Justice card, in some way, shape, or form, even within the constructs of his childhood. Remember, I started this by talking about transitioning from immaturation. So, you know, when we think about childhood to college, it makes sense now. And the Tower, oh my God, Spirit, wow. So he's causing towers in people's lives. The Twin Towers I talked about. Okay, give me a minute. The downloads come so fast these days. It's like, okay. He's been causing all types of tower moments in people's lives and literally just walking away from it, making poor judgments and causing others to make poor judgments, when he should be calling and helping elevate people to their highest potential as they trust him to do in this upright justice, King of Swords nature. He's actually been causing great endings and defeats in people's lives, and then ripping the foundations from under them. Now, I see it more as finessing women, but like I said, I feel like it could be both now. I'm very clear. Like, I feel like this is the type of diabolical motivation that whatever, as a magician, he's looking to manipulate whatever energy he sets his mind and his eyes on. If it's something that he wants out of that situation, literally, he'll put his head down and work for it. And he doesn't really care about the casualties. He doesn't care about who gets sabotaged. He doesn't care about where he got to stick his wand or how he got to wave his wand, as long as he gets the desirable outcome. And now that energy has been exposed, perhaps because he just finessed too many women, or too many people, too many at this point, and people are angry. And once upon a time, I get the sense that there was a return, because Eight of Pentacles is prosperous work. You know, that whatever he was doing was making money, and it was producing, it was productive, you know. When he started dwindling down to 2, you know, and not having the ends to show for the means, is when people, like I said, started to get angry that how they had perhaps even been finessed to invest in this work, this project, this effort, this scheme, this plot. Like, this is definitely someone that by all means could be labeled a scammer. You know, he's scamming in general, like, because he's presenting himself to be upright and honorable and integral, but all the while, this is the energy that he leaves in his trails, like completely obliterating people from the ground up, from the inside out. Particularly women, because they're most vulnerable, and because he not only has a vendetta against them that's deep-seated and deep-rooted, he also has a deeply vested interest in their energy, because that, I mean, a high priestess, you can manifest the world off the energy of a high priestess. So if you can finesse her energy and capture it, captivate it for yourself, deplete her mentally, energetically, spiritually, so make her discount her value or question it, and ultimately see you as some higher value or some, potential viable partner, or even a savior. My God, I hear that in my head, like to feel like you're some savior of sorts with the magician energy here, like you can do anything because you've devalued her enough to put almost exalt yourself on a pedestal, even though there's no God card out here, and there's not even an ace out here that would even imply that God is here. The only thing here is the exposure of light and of the spirit, which is shedding a spotlight on exactly everything that's been wrong with this situation from the inside out. So this vendetta is so deep that he's been on this trail. That's why there's an 8 of Wands here, because he's been doing this over and over and over again. He can't help himself with the King of Wands. There's no self-control here. That even in the best initial intentions to be in partnership or in companionship or even friendship, or in a professional connection, collaboration or creative or co-creation, he always resorts back to this finessing and this scamming, because that is the energy of him that is unhealed and unrectified until now. I don't know where the tower has come in, if it has fallen at this point, which I believe if it has, he's just completely unaware of it to think that he can still walk away. It's like the moon is even looking at his ass like, oh, poor guy. There's no way to finesse yourself out of energy that's been expelled as this at this time, not at such a time as this. Everybody is under judgment and having to answer for the energy that we've invested in the universe, good, bad, or indifferent. This is the exchange. The ships that are coming in are the return on whatever energy you put out at this point. So whereas before he may have been able to continuously finesse his way out, where he would destroy one relationship, he could move on to the next and still produce from it, still get a 8 of Wands return, an 8 of Pentacles return, still start over, literally, with the infinity sign here was continual, over and over, always able. All right, well, I depleted her energy. She's burnt out. Now I can move on to this, leaving a trail of tears in the background. It's time's up for that, my guy. Wowzers. All right, let's see. I'm gonna just get a few more on this side and then we out. Cause I mean, it's pretty much self-explanatory, unless Spirit, there's something you want me to know in terms of this, because this was just entertainment as far as I'm concerned, me personally, because if you are on perhaps the vulnerable side of this experience, you've been finessed, you've been, yeah, exactly. Sir, you should be nervous, because, and he don't even see it coming. He knows it's coming, but he thinks he still got time to finesse a way outside of it. The moon is signifying like some deep-rooted emotions, just as I said, like some stuff that he really got to, yeah, and he's still on a fool's journey, not realizing that the darkness is literally closing in on him. And it's like, in one regard, he's anxious and eager for some outcome that either hasn't occurred yet or that just is presenting itself as a possibility on the horizon, mainly because he just knows he's done too much. And the things that he's been, the work that he's been doing underground, that 8 of Pentacles energy over and over again, the finessing in the most practical sense, this could actually be dark magic, dark work, especially with the magician here. This is somebody that's occultic and that is actually looking to be a dark magician, wizard, or warlock amongst feminine energies, especially to siphon their energies for manifestation and manipulation purposes. And the work that he's been able to do, perhaps to sacrifice each relationship, each energy that he uses up and abuses and leaves in the background, he's been able to sacrifice that energy and start again. But for some reason, that's not happening this time. Well, we know what reason. It's not for some reason. It's because it's time's up for that. The things that, look at the disparity. He's having to literally start back at zero. And this isn't a fool's journey in the upright where, you know, you're walking in faith and not by sight. And this is someone that's blind, walking into his own fate and not even realizing it, thinking he's escaping the dark, but is actually about to be completely swallowed whole by it if he doesn't repent sooner or later, if he doesn't actually shift his perspective to walk in faith and in the honor in which he presented himself to be, in justice and in truth and in balance and integrity. If he doesn't start from that square one, what is this that my hands are on? Yeah, and stop finessing. And now here's another king. These might be the kings. Yeah. This is him in that aggressive energy, but it's ultimately him having to drink every single cup that he poured for others. Every single one. It's like taking all those 7 of cups, those 3 of cups, which is the 10, but not in the high vibrational way. And I'm totally hearing it, you know, that collective force of emotional manipulation that was expelled in the universe, and having to pour all of that into his grail here and drink it. And that's what the moon card is here for when I said that this deep-seated emotion, because not only is he going to have to face his own misfortune from childhood trauma that he's not yet addressed, he's also going to have to, this is the 7 of Wands here. He's trying for dear life to stand his ground, because ultimately he's being washed away by a tsunami of emotions from himself and his past experiences, familially, culturally, experientially, you know, every way, shape, and form through his maturation journey. He's having to swallow all of that, and also every single cup that he tainted throughout his expedition is now all filtered into this one cup for him to drink. And a King of Swords who's a little bit emotionally detached, sometimes a lot of bit emotionally attached, which means that in some ways he was able to carry out this energy without really having a whole lot of sympathy and empathy. You know, he found some way to justify his actions. I don't know how. It has to be, like I said, it has to be some mental disturbance here for you to justify it. But when you have unchecked trauma, you can find loopholes in anything, you know, and that darker nature of you, that carnal, diabolical nature will tell you that you deserve to have the upper hand in situations or on situations on account of the toxicity and trauma that you incurred, when in actuality it was supposed to be a lesson. You know, it was supposed to mature you. Remember I said, you know, when I went to school, I was one way. I was very open and free and loving everybody and just here for the ride. And the people that I encountered were definitely a good time, you know, for the time being. And I continued those friendships even beyond school. They became young adult friends and even followed me through some parts of my middle age up until most recently. But ultimately, what was uncovered is that there were some dark energies below the surface of these let the good times roll that were not viable to my prosperity, that were actually in opposition to my highest good. And I didn't know that in my immaturity. You know, I was just having a good time. And I didn't know that with the bonding that had occurred on account of the good times that I had, it took me going through some tower moments and some trauma and some death, you know, endings to relationships and some judgment calls in my own life as to what I was willing to sacrifice myself to for the sake of friendship and for the sake of acceptance and for the sake of love in a primitive sense and for the sake of you know, camaraderie and not missing out on, you know, social acceptance and things of that sort. I had to learn the hard way as to who really had value in my life, and then use that information to then mature yet again, you know, to transcend a place of immaturity and being very, you know, green to the realities of life, that everybody that appears to be for you is not for you. And in a way, it could have made me bitter. It could have made me dishonest on my own, in my own regard with other relationships. It could have made me be less of a queen of cups and more of a distorted queen of wands, you know, and be looking, or even a queen of swords, you know, to be dishonest in my nature, or to just always be looking to be on attack mode or defense mode against relationships and things like that. Now, although now, you know, this is all side note, commercial break, shout out to Nephilim, the angel goddess, but all side note, I definitely am very cautious. You know, what it taught me is to have healthier boundaries, stronger boundaries, to really surrender to my discernment, which was always there, but sometimes we push it to the side again for the sake of belonging and being accepted and blah, 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 all those things. You push that to the side, knowing that you can feel the energy of hate or jealousy or envy or resistance on your back. But just so you can be in that celebration and be in that commitment and that collaboration, or be one in the number, you decide, oh, it's okay, I can sideswipe that. I can show them why they should love me, or show them why they shouldn't be intimidated, or whatever the case may be. Or just to be a part in general, you sacrifice yourself for that sake. There's a difference between taking those lessons and putting them to good use, putting them to work in your life, those illuminations of the truth of even who you are being, because I take full responsibility for my part. I'm not a victim to anyone or anything, or any place for that matter. Those people that I chose to be in connection or commitment with were exactly that, my choice. And it was within the power of my choice to continue those connections when my spirit all along was telling me otherwise in different ways and shapes and forms. You can take that intel, you can grow from it, you can mature, you can learn from tragedies, from misfortunes, from disconnections, from misalignments. You can learn from bad relationships, toxic friendships, even toxic and traumatic family experiences, and you can grow from them. Or you can perpetuate the toxicity and the trauma and continue it on in different forms and packages throughout your life, and make a profit from it in a diabolical sense, or you can gain power from it in a divine sense. Those are the choices that we have. Those are the choices. We all get faced with them throughout life. Nobody gets out of this life unscathed with a crystal clean experience, having nothing to regret or resist or have remorse for, that you don't get to then transmute that energy in some way, shape, or form. Mind you, get to, because it's a choice. If you choose to live in those low vibrations, in those dark natures, and perpetuate the energy that you were once vulnerable to, dare I say, victim of in some way, shape, or form, depending on how you perceive it, of course, then that's the energy that you will ultimately co-create it within the universe for yourself. Hence, the self-sabotage that we come to at this very point. Him over here thinking that he's still got a chance to finesse when he's already in the 10 of swords is like the biggest joke of it all. because he's still not realizing the error of his ways and the karma that has incurred on account of it all. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about somebody like that. And now you're going to have to drink up all this energy that you poured out into others, you know, and it's not going to be easy because it's not something, when the tower is here, it's not voluntary usually. That means that spirit had to step in, call judgment, put a stop to the foolishness, and rip the rug from under you for you to stop. Because otherwise you still be going and going and going and going and going and going. That's wild to me. See the handwriting on the wall for what it is before spirit has to literally yank your head around to pay attention. Nobody wants that. And no matter how productive some of these diabolical plots and plans out here may seem to be, the quick fix, the get rich quick scheme, the scams, the finessing, even in the most primitive senses, presenting false personas online and on the internet when you know that's not who you are. Presenting a presentation of divinity when you're diabolical as hell behind the scenes. It's like, if anything, just be the devil that you are. Like, I'd pay to see it. I'd pay to see somebody that just straight up and down says, I am a demon and this is how I roll. I'd rather see that and hear that story, and perhaps with that expression of truth, honesty for real, you know, justifiably so, like really saying, this is who I am, this is who I'm being, this is what I identify as why I am this way, this is what motivates me to be this. I'm speaking for real to some demonic forces out there, like, just be yourself. Like that episode of Martin with the sophisticated ladies, with Shanae and they were all trying to be a part of the ladies club, and Gina and Pam, I'm going to post that on the community tab because it's been on my mind anyway. But when Gina and Pam were putting on all these airs, trying to be the perfect ladies, and, you know, I run a business, we're business marketing, and we do this, and we manage this many firms and this many accounts and blah, 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 blah. And at the end of the day, Shanae and freaking, what was her name? Not Kilolo. What's the other one's name? Shanae Jenkinson? Laquita. Shanae Jenkinson, Laquita, something's in his house. Martin fans know what I'm talking about. For the rest of you, check the community tab. But yeah, in the end, they were just being themselves, as ratchet and ridiculous as they were, caricatures of women, ultimately. As I have already said, wanting to be a woman, wanting to present yourself as a masculine with the power of masculine energy, but ultimately monopolizing and manifesting off of feminine vibration. That's so diabolical. Like, and finessing both sides to get what you want all along. But anyway, in the end, Shanae and Laquita were the ones who won the seat in the private ladies club because they won the group over of sophisticated ladies by just being their natural selves, being authentic, being who they were, as ratchet as they were. They had the keys to the streets. You know, their ears was to the streets. They knew whose husbands was cheating with who and what, you know, they knew all the dirt, you know, so they became valuable actually to the ladies club and an asset. And then actually inspired the ladies to come out of their rigid shells to actually be themselves, you know, from the deep, dark depths of whence they had already buried their natural, you know, their energy, you know, trying to be these sophisticated ladies. They pulled out an energy from them that was buried under the surface. So I'm saying all this to say, I'm not advocating for diabolical or demonic energy in any way, shape, or form. But what I am advocating for is for honesty and integrity and being who you are. And maybe that's the road that leads to the healing that gets to take place to maybe usher you out of those energies and frequencies that are less favorable and less are definitely less productive at this time. You make more money and find yourself having more reward by just openly and honestly being exactly who you are, as low vibrational as, or at least expressing yourself to be who you are clearly and upfront, than you would be to be putting on some divine face or mask or hat that you can't even really fit behind anymore or fit into, because the spirit is exposing all. You have to actually match up to what you're preaching. You have to walk the talk. You have to this day and age. You see all these preachers getting exposed left and right, and it's not because, you know, it's not the wrath of God. It's the judgment of truth, the justice of truth. You have to be honest. And hopefully those that are being exposed will find their way to their truth, whether that is being with a man or not, or being with, being in a relationship unwed, and, whatever their truth is by God, I hope they live it and then find their way to healing by that walk, by that path, as opposed to trying to submit and sacrifice themselves to a lie. That's energy that only is useful and productive by diabolical and demonic means. The devil can use that energy as long as you're willing to be undercover about it. But a so-called demonic spirit that's willing to say, this is what I am and this is what I do, I guarantee you'd do numbers. People will be subscribing by the droves just to hear the truth of the other side, perhaps of even themselves that they're not willing to face. Try it. Try the truth on, why don't you? Try that face on, that face under the mask, try that face on, why don't you? And see if you don't get the response that you've been dying for, literally dying for all of your life. And then also see if you don't find redemption in that truth, because I guarantee you the spirit, which is why it said to come as you are, can meet you in that honesty and can reveal to you every which way as to why you're doing what you're doing, how it hasn't served you, how it no longer serves you, and how you can actually transmute that very powerful life force that you've been harboring into something that is going to be prosperous, productive, and ultimately eternal, hopefully eternal life, except for the eternal damnation that's being perpetuated here. What good is that to anyone with all this potential power on the board? To be the damn magician, my God. And the King of Swords, the smartest man in the deck. So all the kings are out here, as a matter of fact, at this point, to literally be an emperor, someone that could, in the embodiment of self-control, be the most powerful king in the deck. But he ain't out here because you're too caught up in the diabolical frequency of every energy, every mask that you're trying to wear, when you could collect your whole self, look yourself in the mirror, be real about what's really going on under the surface, and then let the spirit work with that authentically, purely, organically. That's my challenge to anybody that's struggling to be their authentic self right now. Try the truth. Stop trying to fit into a mold that doesn't fit you, but don't care about what nobody has to say about it. Be who you are. Let that freak flag fly so that you can transcend the worst of it all. If you choose to, because maybe you don't choose to. And then again, that'll be your own choice of demise to continue on that path of recreating toxicity. And ultimately, it'll lead down the path of destruction anyway. So you might as well try the truth, which is ultimately the way to life. Is you may meet all the energy you expelled along the path so far, but I guarantee you, if you were to repent, which means to just shift your mindset, change your ways, and see the value of exactly who you've been, of expressing it honestly, that, you know what, maybe this can help somebody, for me to say, I'm dark as hell. I like dark shit. I like doing dark shit. I like being with dark people. I like causing chaos and confusion. And this is how I've made a living off of it, and this is how, it's benefited me over the years, and perhaps even being honest about how it may not be anymore, or maybe it still is. I don't know, but either way, The truth shall set you free. Ma'am, sir. What's on the top? And then I'm out of here. Yeah, and this is like, again, that childhood trauma and toxicity. Unresolved issues. Unresolved issues. What's similar here? The cups with the Three of Cups, of which have been finessed. The Queen of Cups, of which have been finessed. Because as a child, he had to repress some emotions, some experiences that were unfavorable, that have been in the dark, under the surface, festering all this time. Look at these wolves howling at the moon. This is like his internal nature that's been repressed since a child, that has been unrectified and unhealed. I guarantee you, if you try the way of truth, you might actually remember. I was talking about maturation. This is someone that's like a man, a child stuck in a man's body, that has not been able to move past the trauma of his childhood for the sake of averting his attention to material gain or to causing others pain. If you address your own, sir, your own dark emotions, your own pain, your own anguish, your own resentment, I guarantee you will actually be able to step away from a lot of, at least from this life, with breath, having had breath in your body without it being swiped from you prematurely. Because that's the road that you're headed on now. That the death card is on your ass. So if there's any type of, desire for life, however unsensational it may be at first, I can't say it would be easy to present yourself in a world such as this. People may have something to say, they may judge, they might sneer, they might reject, all that good stuff. But in the end, you will still have saved your own soul. Because I assure you, at this point, no one is coming to save it for you. This is on you. All right, so I'm gonna leave that there. My God, that was too much. So take from it what you will. Again, reflect upon the ways in which you have matured and evolved in your life, in spite of maybe perhaps some of the most destructive and maybe even diabolical disturbances, distractions, and distortions. You have lived to tell the story. You have survived the tower moments in your life. Maybe even survived in one now or most recently. As long as there is breath in the body, there's always hope for a brighter day. All right, and until next time, peace.